This is really... So, if you keep up with my videos, you know that I have had quite a lot on my plate. Basically, I left the country. I came back, I did a whole bunch of gigs. I had a rehearsal that went from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. because that was the only time that we were all free. I've been traveling a lot, playing a ton, and now I get to sit down and film all of the videos that I have promised you, wearing my amazing Once Upon a Mattress shirt from the pit orchestra that I played in back in, I want to say, November, but I'm not sure. So that is all really good news for me, not necessarily good news for my YouTube channel, but I am doing my best, and here's one of the videos that I have promised you, and that is what to do when your band or orchestra music is too easy. Here's the situation. You're stuck in rehearsal, and you can't dip because you need to be there for attendance, and your music is just painfully easy. And it's so boring. But is it? So I have about 3 questions that you are going to need to ask yourself if you find that your ensemble music is too easy. The first set of questions you have to really sort of reflect in your soul, and that is, am I really playing every single articulation that's marked, all of the staccatos, all the accents? Are all of the intervals perfect? Are you playing in tune? Are you playing true dynamics? Even though your part is easy note-wise, nothing should be played mindlessly. It's really easy when you have a part and like your mind just kind of wanders and you start thinking about what you're gonna have for lunch and, you know, going over your to-do list for the whole day, and like you're still physically playing your instrument, but you're not there. So use this time to really hone in on your fundamentals. Focus on things like your hand position, your wrist position, your posture, and your breath support. You can think of it almost like it's free practice time to really hone in on these specific skills. The second set of questions has to do with listening to your section. You may have mastered your part, but has the rest of your section mastered their parts? So what can you do better as a section? If you're playing in a wind ensemble and you notice that maybe the second or third clarinets have a little bit of wonky intonation, or maybe your third clarinet and you notice that the section as a whole does not sound very good or in tune together because it's really easy, everyone's playing the right notes, and everyone's mind is off somewhere else, and you're just not focused together as a section. A lot of times you'll have a break in the middle of rehearsal, but sometimes rehearsals, like band rehearsals at school, are only about 45 minutes long. So you can suggest tuning either before or after rehearsal, just going through the section as a section, and just playing through it and tuning it if you notice that's out of tune. Or if you have an actual break in the middle of rehearsal, you can be like, hey guys, that wasn't really together. Can we just really quickly go over it and make sure that that's in tune? Because it's easy music and we should be able to do it, but for some reason we're not all connecting on the same wavelength, literally. You can also remind the people next to you of dynamics and articulation. You know, I've said before, don't be a jerk, but sort of work together to create a united sound. If you notice that like a certain part, there's like accents on the and of beats, like on the upbeats, that is indicating a certain feel to the music. Like the emphasis is not on the downbeat, it's on the and, it's on the upbeat. So you want to make sure that that groove is being felt within your section, just as an example, you know. The third question that you're going to ask yourself also has to do with listening to the ensemble as a whole, and that question is, what else is happening? If you're playing mostly long-held notes, chances are that is not the melody. So find who is playing the melody, and maybe bring your part down a little bit so that you can hear where the heck the melody is. Sometimes there won't be one if it's like a weird piece of music, but typically if your section is playing all long notes, you want to bring that down because it's usually, in most cases, not the melody. So you want to listen for who has the melody, because then it's a question of balance among the ensemble. If another section has the melody and then you eventually take it over, you're going to want to adjust your dynamic. So if you're listening to somebody who has the melody and you realize that halfway through your section takes it over, you want to be able to hear that being passed to you so that that transition can be seamless. You don't want to overlap and you don't want there to be space between. You want to come in seamlessly so that sounds like one instrument playing the melody all the way through. Also, while your part might be very easy, try listening to what other people have. Like, maybe there's something really cool happening in the violas, and you can tune in to listen to that because it's cool. Try to find your favorite part. Like, you might be playing something that's not super interesting, but maybe something else is happening. Maybe there's a really cool harmony. Maybe there's a cool sound effect. Maybe, like, there's something cool going on in the saxophones and you never noticed it until you started listening. Try to listen to also see if there's another section that has the same part you have, and try to blend with them. Maybe the flutes and clarinets are playing something together and the oboes have the melody, just as an example. You want to blend with the flutes and have a unified sound. You don't want to have this bombastic clarinet sound, and you don't want it to be overpowered by the flutes. You guys blend together, you listen together, you blend so that the oboes can come out with the melody. But yeah, listen to what other sections have, and there might be something really interesting happening that's not in your part, believe it or not. And an example that I will give is a Haydn symphony. I will link it below. The number of the symphony is slipping my mind right now, but I know it's a London symphony, and I think there are multiple London symphonies. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'll link it below. It might be one, I think it's 104, but the second movement is really slow, and honestly, like, being totally realistic, Haydn clarinet parts suck. It's really easy to just sort of play along, half-ass the dynamics, and just not play super well because there's not a whole lot going on in your part that's interesting or soloistic, you know. In the second movement of this particular symphony, and again, it's in the comments, I hope, the second movement was incredibly beautiful and very intimate, and I really didn't understand the intimacy of that specific movement until I got out of my part and started listening to what was around me, because I was so bored playing the tonic and dominant all the time and resting for a million measures that I wasn't even listening to what was happening around me. Another thing you can do if you have a lot of rests is know when you come in without counting. Which hold on. So you still want to count. You still want to know exactly where you come in rhythmically. You never want to not count. What I'm saying is you can try to figure out where your part comes in musically as opposed to counting. This is not making a whole lot of sense. How do I want to word this? It's another technique of just seeing how your part fits in with what else is happening. If you know that you come in after the violins play a really high note and then they diminuendo and then your part comes in, you can sort of plan to come in there and you can sort of feel when you're coming in, as opposed to like, all right, 64, 2, 3, 4, bomb. You can listen for that connection and you can just sort of come in so that it's seamless and that it's musical, not necessarily, with the downbeat. But you never want to not count, but think about it in like a musical sense. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to tell you not to count, because that's not good. You always want to count. Always count, always know exactly where you are, but just open your ears. When you come out of your part and when you open up your ears and you're listening to what's going around you, all of a sudden there's a ton of things to think about and notice about the piece. Even if you played a piece 100 times, there are still new things to discover in whatever piece you're playing. So I hope that helps. If you have any suggestions on what to do when your ensemble music is too easy, or if you want to share maybe an experience that you had with a really easy ensemble piece, or if you're playing a really easy ensemble piece, let me know what piece it is, because chances are I've played it. Also, I know the thumbnail probably has English folk song suite, in the, like, that's the piece of music, and that's only because I have played that piece so many times. I have played that piece to death, and I just played it again pretty recently with the wind ensemble, and when I started to, like, open up my ears and listen, all of a sudden I realized that there's all this music happening and all the sections have all these really cool things, and I could have been doing that this whole time. If you have any questions that you want answered, let me know and leave them in the comments. Anyway, I'm going to close out this video now, so go practice.